Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're back on GT Sport and we're back with the FIA Manufacturers Championship. It's round number 2, driving at Dragon Trail Seaside. It's the reverse variation in the Group 3 cars. You can see they're starting on P1 GTP David Perel. I really didn't hook my lap up in qualifying. You can see starting down in P4, I was only a couple of tenths behind P1. You can see fairly close between the top 3, and I was just sitting there behind, just over a tenth behind in P4. Now, I was a little bit frustrated because I was on for a lap that would probably have got myself into, I think, a 1:37.9 or 8. In the final corner, I totally stuffed it up and went wide, lost the rear a bit, tried to get back on the pound, still went over the line with that time that puts me P4 on the grid, but was a bit disappointed because I wanted to go on a different strategy than what I was forced to go on in this race. I'm going to show you at the end of this. I did the American race, obviously in a lower split, so I knew I'd be able to get pole fairly easy, and I wanted to compare the overall time after the end of this race just to see the difference. Obviously it's good to see differences in different strategies, but you can see going through the field, some fairly okay drivers in the field. It was a fairly high split lobby. It wasn't obviously a super high split lobby, they're not as high as they were in the official season, but there's still some good drivers in here. And starting from P4, I felt like I could still get a good result from this. I still felt like the win was possible because I knew that I didn't really get the best lapping in qualifying, so I knew the race pace was going to be fairly good, and I was looking forward to this race. So you can see going through the grid again, as usual, the disconnects. I think we had 2 or 3 disconnects before the race started. As the lobby was obviously gathered up, 2 people got disconnected. So we're going to keep the action all on board with the replay camera in the top right corner for this race. Obviously the last one I edited a bit and moved the cameras around a bit. For this one we're going to keep it all on gameplay. I do like to vary it obviously. So starting from P4, first aim was to just get through the chicane of death without crashing. You saw it in my stream, I was struggling with that, especially in behind cars, but I did actually manage to sort myself out through that chicane. I had done a practice race, 2 practice runs of 11 laps obviously, and done it fairly clean without 10 laps I think it was, and done it fairly clean without any incident. So you can see starting the race behind the Mercedes, you can see I'm not going to go too aggressively into it while I'm this close. So you can see braking very early, lifting off the throttle and just trying to keep it fairly smooth. A little bit of oversteer there as we went in, but got away with that. You can see it seems to be when you're behind another car that you just get a loss of downforce, so that's why I stayed quite far back. But you can see the leaders battling quite hard straight away. I've got a car behind me, I think it was a Ford Mustang that was behind me, so I had to be fairly careful because I've got to stay in the Mercedes AMG's slipstream just so that can help me defend against the car behind me. I didn't know what tyres other drivers were on. You can see up ahead, I had no idea what strategy. Now I wanted to start this race on softs and do soft both, since on the softs I kind of suspected it could work, but obviously you can see now the Mustang going for a move on the outside. I'm going to brake late and hold that inside. I've got the right to that corner now obviously. A tiny bit of contact on the exit, but I think that was my corner. You see I braked later, had the inside, and he tried to go around the outside, which isn't really possible in that corner. But like I was saying, yeah, I did want to do this strategy on the soft tyres, but obviously because of my poor qualifying it was too risky to burn them tyres up without getting the advantage, because you're just going to get stuck behind cars and not really get the advantage. If I started from pole, 100% would have gone on the soft tyres and gone aggressive in this race, but you can see I decided to stay on the mediums. And you can see I'm managing to catch up now to P3 and starting to close in on the leading 2 drivers there. They're battling away, and this is good for me while they're battling. Going into this corner, the Mercedes, that really unusual line compared to the line that I was taking in the 911. But coming out the corner, managed to get a nice slipstream here now, and you can see the leaders battling away there, the 2 Porsches. So I decided to lift off fairly early through this corner. You're going to see I really lifted off early, but they suddenly slammed on and it proper caught. It really did catch me out. You can see I don't know what actually happened. I think it was because P2 was going for an overtake on P1, he backed out of it and he slammed on, and that caused the Mercedes to slam on, and obviously I had nowhere to go, and then I got hit again there going through the corner where I don't know, I was trying to stay on the track but give people the inside line, but ended up down in P9, P10 now. So a bit of a disaster start. You can see really compromised start to the race. So this is not what I wanted to happen, obviously, and it wasn't really my fault, to be fair. It was because they slammed on in front of me. It was like a knock-on effect where I think it was P3, the Mercedes slammed on because the VP driver slammed on as well in the middle of the corner, and that just caused a knock-on effect, and then I had nowhere to go, so ended up hitting the wall. So a little bit annoyed because now I'm down in P10, and you can see battling going on, and managed to get through there round the outside after they were battling away, and put myself back up to P8. Now what I had to do, even though I've got damage at this stage, I didn't want to do a two-stopper because that's just going to be too costly at this track. So what I have to do is stay out for another lap, complete 3 laps, and then go back in the pits, because I knew that the medium tyres, the racing medium tyres, could do 6 to 7 laps probably. So I decided to stay out, because if I go in the pits now, it's compromising my strategy. They can do 8 laps, but the 8th lap is insanely slow. Your tyres have not got much left on them at all. So you can see going into the corner, trying to defend my line, because I'm trying to be fair, I've got to hold these other cars up, because I'm going to be racing these when I come out of the pits. So you can see I'm going to try and stay in the slipstream with this Audi now while I'm in P7, and obviously with the damage, the car is not handling very good at all, and it's losing a lot of straight line speed. You can see even though I've got the damage through the corners, I've actually catching up to P6 there. It's just as soon as we get to any sort of straight, my car's just really got no acceleration. You'll see the difference when we're going down the straights. That's where the damage seems to affect you the most. Obviously it does affect you through the corners as well, but you can see now the Audi just pulling away, and I'm really struggling to stay with it down the straights. But so far not a bad lap, considering I've got the damage, and I'm just trying to really recover something from this race at this stage, because you know I need to think about strategy. And my plan was, if I pit at the end of lap 3, I thought I could make the medium tyres last that 7 laps. It was going to obviously be a struggle with the high tyre wear, but I felt like I could do it, and it was probably the best way to do it, because at least if I pit on lap 3, I'm going to then have fresher tyres before other cars pit, and I can then get a bit of an undercut. But obviously I had to repair that damage, so I was going to be in the pits a little bit longer than some of the other cars, but then hopefully the outlap that I do on the new tyres will be good enough to kind of counteract that. You can see now really struggling for grip, but still managing to hold on to P6 with this damage. Decided to go in the pits this lap because I really wanted to get an undercut on some drivers, because I couldn't pass any cars that were in front of me. So I could have stayed out, but there was no way of passing them cars because the straight line speed was so compromised with that damage. So new tyres on, no fuel obviously with this new way they do the FIA races, and now I had to let the damage get repaired and then out the pits, and then just hoping to come out in some clean air. You can see P13 just up ahead and slotted in between that gap there, so not too bad, but I was a little bit worried about P13 there in front of me. He's got a penalty, and I was hoping to come out in cleaner air than that really, so I could really push on and try and do a really fast outlap. You can see the leader's quite a way ahead now. So the win, obviously there was no way I could really battle for the win in this race now with the compromised strategy and that damage that I received. So now I've just got to try and get past this P13 driver as soon as possible. I decided I was going to have a little look there up the inside, but then because he made that error, he actually went in too deep and he kind of left the door open, and I went for that move. A little bit of contact, but I feel like that was fair. He outbraked himself, and I just decided I'm not waiting behind that driver. I need to get on with this race and push on, because if I get stuck behind him, it's really going to compromise me. Already lost me probably about half a second maybe there, where he obviously slowed down and then braked again, and he just ran wide. So now trying to push really hard in the outlap, you can see using all the track and trying to work my way round to see where I'm going to come out, because there's going to be some people that were starting on the medium tyres obviously that would pit on the end of lap 4 and then do the 6 laps on the started on the softer tyre and do 4 laps and then do the 6 laps on the medium tyre. It was a fairly good strategy to run, to be fair. You can see as one driver there goes in the pits from up in the lead. I think it was the leader pitting on lap 4 possibly by the looks of it, trying to do a bit of an undercut and give himself some space maybe, but he had the medium tyres on, he didn't have the soft tyres on. He's going to probably go for a longer stint on the second stint, but other drivers in the pits there, you can see where we're going to come out now as we come out into P12, but obviously we're still waiting for the other drivers that are going to do the directs. But you can see Kirby, who was behind me, has just come out in front of me, so Did lose a bit of time with obviously that traffic and having to repair the car, but not as much as, you know, it could have been. I had to sit in the pits for a good few seconds, so might be in an okay position once all the positions are sorted out. And now I've got to put pressure on this Mercedes in front of me. I felt like I have the pace to get past the Mercedes because I knew how good my pace was. It was frustrating because I think if I would have qualified P1, I got my pace fairly you know, competitive, and I think I'll show you that at the end of the race when I show you the American lobby that I did. But you can see, following now very closely to Mercedes, this is the section where the Porsche is really strong. I'm able to carry so much more speed than that Mercedes through the corners. You can see having to lift off a bit where I wanted to get on the power, so kind of like wanted to get past as soon as possible. So decided to try and put some pressure on, have a little look in areas where I wasn't even going to try and overtake, just have a little look on the inside there, try and scare him, see if he can make a mistake if I put him under pressure. But he's driving really well at this stage now. I've just got to try and find a way past, but obviously the Mercedes is a little bit more grunt than the Porsche. It's a little bit faster down the straights, not a massive amount faster, but it's got a little bit more in it. So I've just got to try and stick behind and wait for an opportunity. And now obviously with this long straight, if I can pick up a good slipstream, there might be an opportunity. You can see getting really aggressive on the throttle where I'm trying to put the foot down and put him under pressure. You can see obviously his tyres are going to be a lap newer than mine, so I'm going to have slightly more worn tyres, but I felt like I could still deal with that and get past. So you can see he went to go defensive, and I just kind of did a late move. Then I think he just kind of let me go for that in the end and let me take that position. So up into P6 now and trying to push really hard. You can see got 5 drivers obviously ahead of me, and there's some drivers battling really close in front of me, so it'll be interesting to see where what happens in this race. There's collision up ahead, and that's kind of good for me. That puts me straight up into P4. I think that was Calster involved with that, with the Ford Mustang, and that was quite fortunate for myself. I think I would have been able to stay with them anyway for a bit, but then I think at the end of, obviously when the tyre wear was kicking in, I'm not too sure how this Porsche would be compared to their cars. Obviously I had to do 7 laps on these medium tyres, but you can see now obviously VP Patton in front of me, managed to catch up back up to him now, but obviously he's going to obviously then have the fresh tyres now from this point, so he's just going to pull away, and there's not really much I can do as my tyres now are really starting to fade already. Obviously done coming up to the third, this is the 3rd lap on these tyres now, so this is where they're starting to get a little bit of wear in them. You can see them on my on the actual tyre wear overlay there. You can see starting to get a little bit wear on the right tyre, the right front tyre and the right rear tyre, and the left rear tyre not too bad, but still not great. But you can see going through that final corner, a little bit of oversteer there where I'm really trying to get aggressive. I was trying to break the slipstream of that Mercedes behind me as we then go into turn 1 and trying to make sure I get through here clean. You can see I was trying to really push very hard. Maybe I should have took it a little bit smoother. You can see going through this corner, I had a very strange moment of oversteer there, and that caught me out and has actually lost me the P4 position. You can see the Mercedes getting back past me, so again a silly mistake, just trying to overdrive the car really. That's actually lost me another couple of seconds there. See, Patton was right in front of me, and I've actually lost I think about 2 seconds in that one little instant, so a bit frustrating. Now I've got to try and get back past Kerr. Obviously his tyres are going to be in that little bit better condition than mine, so I've got to push really hard and see if I can find a way back past again, so back down to P5. But at the moment I've managed to recover a reasonable position in this race. If I can get myself back into P4 and finish in P4, it wouldn't be the worst result considering I was down in about P13 at one stage, obviously after the lap 2 incident at the chicane of death. But you can see now pushing really hard behind Kerr, having a little look. Can I have a little look in? No, decided not to go for that move there. But again in the braking, the Porsche a little bit better, and again really aggressive on the throttle. The rear starts to step out where I'm really trying to put the power down and give myself the best exit. And I've also got another driver pushing hard behind me, obviously on much fresher tyres than what I'm on. I think he pitted on the end of lap 5, so he's got 2 lap fresher tyres than me. I don't know what tyres he's on as also. Kerr in front makes a slight mistake coming out the final corner. That gives me the slipstream. I decide to go to the right hand side. He's going to go defensive down the left hand side. I'm going to have to try and do it the hard way round the outside and brake really late, which is going to be really tricky with these tyres that are fading. You can see there, going through the corner, trying to give him space as much as possible, and braked really late and trying to hold it round the outside. You can see getting on the power, car started to go a little bit loose, but just about managed to get that move done and put myself back into P4. So a nice move to get back into the top 4, and now I've just got to really hold on to this. You can see I've lost quite a bit of time already to VP Patome, over 6 seconds behind, nearly 7 seconds behind already, and we've got 3 laps to go. So just a case of holding on to this position now. There's no chance of catching them. Tyres are 2 gone. You can see already I've pretty much done the amount of laps now. This would have obviously been the final lap on these tyres, but I've got to do 3 more laps. So it's going to be really hard to really defend against the other drivers. So I've just got to try and keep it clean. You can see the Mercedes going down the left hand side, but then through this section being really aggressive on the curb there, just about getting away without losing control of the car, and was a little bit too aggressive on the curbs. I was actually surprised I didn't pick up a corner cutting penalty. I think it seems like they've definitely loosened the track limits within the FIA series, possibly because it's not the official season. If you think about it, before the official season started, the track limits weren't that bad in FIA, so I think they've gone back to the settings before the official season, which is kind of weird because it's kind of 4 different track limit settings. You've got obviously the circuit experience settings for track limits, we have the daily race settings, we have this FIA's the off-season FIA settings, and then you have the championship FIA season settings that are even stricter. So it's kind of so many different track limits we're trying to learn, and I think they just need to have one track limit that we all follow to on every single event that we're racing. I don't like the way they change it around. I think it would make people more used to the tracks if they just kept the settings, not too strict, but not fair. What we're racing now, this is this FIA settings, I think this is how they should race all of the different tracks in, not overly strict but not too loose, so you can take, you can push it around the corners, but you're not going to get penalised for taking an inch over the white line, and that's how I think it should be. That's fairly similar to how iRacing and other games run it, but managing to build up a bit of a gap there to P5, but ran really wide going into that left hand corner. Obviously the tyres are really starting to take some wear now. You can see on them front right hand tyres, they're pretty much gone at this stage of the race. They've done what they should have done. They've done the extra. They're now on the extra lap that I really wouldn't have been doing if I would have been following the normal strategy. So at this point now, it's just about holding on to this position and seeing if I can get to the end of the race. You can see the understeer kicking in. It's understeer, then obviously power oversteer. You'll see now going into this left hand corner. This is really tricky with the extra tyre wear that I've got. Getting on the power, and you can see it sliding through the corners. Just about managing to hold on to it, and just trying to keep some form of a gap to the drivers behind so they can't overtake me on the straight. It's going to be a real battle to hold on to this position all the way to the end, but if I can just keep it smooth, it might be possible as we get onto the final straight. And again, you could see the oversteer kicking in. I'm trying to feather the throttle as we go for that last corner to hold on to this P4. Obviously not what I wanted to be fighting for at the start of the race, but still every position's worthwhile to hold on to in an FIA race. So just trying to keep it as smooth but as fast as possible, which is not easy when your tyres are as gone as they are at this stage. You can see on the power there, and they wanted to give up on me there going through the corner. You can see I've got 3 cars behind me now. This is going to be this was actually really intense in the race, trying to hold on to this car with the tyre wear that I was suffering. Obviously this is the 7th lap on these medium tyres, times 13 tyre wear, so they've done technically what is an insane amount of laps, these medium tyres, as we go into the braking. Trying to brake a little bit earlier this time because it caught me out last time with that tyre wear, and managed to do that much better and actually got quite a clean exit from that corner, and that's actually going to help me out now in terms of defence as we go up the hill and into the fast corners, and then that should help me out in terms of defence on the final straight. So trying to hook these corners. The grip was actually okay on that side of the corner, and it wasn't too bad through these fast corners because it was a little bit oversteery, so the car was kind of okay in the fast corners. It was the slower corners and the 3rd gear corners which was catching the car out, as you see again going into this left hand corner down into 2nd gear, trying to take a smooth entry. And you can see the oversteer trying to kick in, just about managing to hold on as that rear right hand tyre has pretty much got no tread left in it, and at the moment everything seems okay. Still in P4, and it looks like one of the drivers, I think it was Kerr, got actually hit by another driver on that final lap, so a little bit disappointing, but at least I've managed to hold on to this P4 as we go to the finishing line. Nothing in my way now, no way of losing this position, so not a bad recovery from the position we were in. and still managing to go over the line of 1 minute 42 with tyres that had done 7 laps, so not too bad at all, and quite happy with the result at the end of the day, considering how the race went. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, obviously the leader there did a 17 minutes 03, so I wanted to compare that. I obviously knew that before I went into the American race, so I knew I had 17 minutes 03 to beat in the American lobby to see what it was comparison. You can see straight away with the strategy that I wanted to run 6 seconds faster, so it kind of was good to see that I knew I had the pace if I really needed to, if I would have been able to run the strategy that I wanted to, and if I would have just sorted out the qualifying. This again really does highlight the importance of hooking your lap up in qualifying and the difference it can make. 6 seconds faster in the race than the leader, and I think it was about 17 seconds faster than the race I had in that race, because you then put in instance that you wouldn't normally be in, and it really does show you that qualifying is key in these races. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that video. It was a fun race, obviously trying to hold on with them tyres that were pretty much dead. I thoroughly enjoyed that myself, to be fair, even though it wasn't the best result, but I did enjoy racing it and trying to look after the tyres while trying to push as well. So some great battles, some good overtakes, and another fun video I think there. So thanks again for watching, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed. Click the notification button so you don't miss any future videos, and hopefully I will be streaming tonight. I didn't do it last night, I wasn't able to do it, but hopefully tonight I will be. Anyway, thanks again for watching, everyone.